Sailor Moon is one of the most beloved and most well-recognized animes of all time, with it starting the magical girl genre and being a huge starting point for many fans of anime. It has had a massive impact on both the East and the West. But when it was released from the East for American audiences, there were some changes that were made by the production company who had the rights to Sailor Moon in the 90s, DiC. There were many things that were changed, censored, and westernized for American audiences. Some of these changes were harmless, whereas others were damaging to the series. And today I'm going to be looking over some of the changes that were made to the series. This is Westernizing and Censoring Sailor Moon. We'll start with some of the lighter stuff and then work our way up to some of the juicy stuff. Let's start with changing the characters' names. If you grew up with Sailor Moon, there's a good chance that you know that Sailor Moon's real name is Serena. Well, no. When Sailor Moon was dubbed, the name of almost everybody was changed. Just for a quick rundown, Ami was changed to Amy, Makoto was changed to Lita, Minako was changed to Mina, and Chibiusa was changed to Rini. Actually, speaking of that, her Sailor name was also changed from Sailor Chibi Moon to Sailor Mini Moon. The only Sailor Scout who you could argue that didn't get a name change was Rei, Sailor Mars. But even with that said, they did spell her name differently. Apparently there was also another name change in the DiC dub. Not of a character, but of the Sailor Senshis. In the dub, they're referred to as Sailor Scouts. I wasn't even aware of this change until halfway through the script. I've gone my whole life calling them Sailor Scouts, not knowing that this was a change in the dub. I'll always refer to them as Sailor Scouts though, mainly because it has a better ring to it. This is a minor change though. This is super common in many anime that's aimed towards children in the States. It happened with Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, and even Pokemon. So as far as changes go, this isn't the worst decision that DiC made. Another change that was made were scenes that depicted violence, which is ironic seeming how Sailor Moon was a show that was like 50% violence. Things like the color of the blood were changed from red to green, like the characters were xenomorphs or something. Very similar to Yu-Gi-Oh!, when certain characters die in the dub, instead they're sent to the Negaverse. I won't say who dies because of spoilers, but it's out there if you want to check for yourself. I guess death was kind of a touchy subject in the dub. Not only were characters sent to the Negaverse, but you couldn't even say words like death or kill. I don't get why death is such a big subject to DiC animation. There were many shows and movies at the time that dealt with this subject matter, so why DiC decided to cut the concept of death is beyond me. One of the more notable changes they made were segments at the end of the show that were to teach kids some moral lessons. And take a guess what they called it. Yep, they actually called them Sailor Says. Just like Sonic the Hedgehog! And some of the messages that they teach to kids are just kind of your typical be good to yourself kind of lessons. But the way how they're told are so bad that they end up being unintentionally hilarious. I mean, the lessons themselves aren't bad. Use sunscreen, don't harm others, people can change. But the way how they deliver these messages are by having characters interact with each other during these segments instead of it being a one-on-one with the audience. And not only can they be distracting, but they can also lose their original intention that the message was going for. But at least they're entertaining at how bad they are. They're good to put on when you need a quick and simple laugh, which beats the whole purpose of the messages, but hey, at least we can get something out of it. There were also a number of episodes that were banned for very weird reasons, and it's not like with Pokemon how they had to ban an episode because it could literally give you a seizure. The banned episodes of Sailor Moon are more questionable. The episode Punish Them, The House Fortune is a Monster Mansion was banned because of a scene where Umino pulls up his teacher's dress. Then this episode was banned for a scene where Shingo kicks Luna. Protect the Melody of Love Usagi as a Cupid was banned because Usagi snuck into an adult club. Coincidentally, both The Summer, the Ocean, Our Youth, and A Ghost 2, and The Ocean, the Island, A Vacation, as Summer Break for the Sailor Senshi were banned for the same reason. That reason being that the girls were wearing swimsuits. Because children have never gone to the beach before, am I right, guys? The last episode to be banned by DiC was the episode Sailor Venus Past Minako Tragic Love. That was banned because of the usage of real weapons. Because, you know, It's not like there are any Western cartoons that have real weapons in them. To be fair, I can see why this episode was banned in the same way that I can see why the gun episode of Pokemon was banned. But on the other hand, it's a grenade, which is more cartoony than something like a gun, for instance. Finally, we need to discuss the giant elephant in the room and the most controversial change in Sailor Moon. Back in the 90s, LGBT representation was scarce and not really out there in the public. Many TV shows and movies gained controversy just by having characters that were a part of the LGBT community. It was something that not a lot of people understood. Sure, nowadays you can get away with this kind of stuff with shows like Steven Universe and Yuri on Ice, but it was a different time back then, and with that, Sailor Moon was changed in the dub for American audiences. One thing that the Deke dub would do is change the gender of a character who was gay. One of the more notable changes was with one of the main villains of Season 1. In the Japanese version, he has an open relationship with another one of the villains. Because one of the villains looked feminine, they changed his sex from male to female, making them a heterosexual couple in the Deke dub. There was also the character Fisheye, another homosexual character in the series who also dressed femininely. Deke decided to do the same thing by swapping his sex and sexuality. He went from a homosexual male to a heterosexual female. Probably the most notorious change to the series, however, would be with the introduction of Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus. Like with the previous characters, there were a homosexual couple in the series. What Deke decided to do instead was to make this romantically attracted homosexual couple into cousins. This change is cited by many fans and critics as one of the worst changes in the series. I can totally see why, but if I had to pick the worst piece of censorship in the Deke dub, it would have to be with all of the 5th season. In the 5th and final season of the show, a group of characters were introduced to the series, the Sailor Starlights. A group of males who, when they go into their Sailor Scout form, turn into females. They played a big part in Season 5, or at least they would have if Season 5 was actually dubbed by Deke. This idea of men turning into women must have had Deke worried, so instead of banning 1 or 2 episodes, they just flat out banned the whole season. And not just any season, but the final one too. So that was just some of the changes made by Deke. There are many more out there, but I think I covered the important ones. Thankfully, Sailor Moon was redubbed by Viz Media, and that dub is so much better. There's no censoring or anything like that. They managed to be respectful to Sailor Moon and fix all the changes that Deke made. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, let me know what show or shows I should tackle next time that was censored. They don't have to be anime, just as long as they're animated.